A warning from President Bush, former President Bush, about the threat of terrorism, not only from overseas, but also domestic terror. The remarks coming as Mr. Bush marked the attacks of the 9/11 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. This, as video obtained by the Washington Examiner, is reported to show how Taliban fighters beheaded an Afghan soldier despite Taliban leaders promising amnesty for government workers. Dan Hoffman is here. He's a former CIA station chief who served in Moscow, Iraq, and Pakistan, also a Fox News contributor. Dan, first of all, I want to get your reaction to the reported gruesome killing.
Well, you know, the Taliban banned the internet in the 1990s, and they learned, as they fought a successful 20-year insurgency against us and defeated us, the value of propagating their propaganda on the internet. You've got their spokesperson claiming that they're offering amnesty and providing and ensuring women's rights and things like that. And then you can see the reality, which is what this latest video shows, which is that the Taliban regime will continue brutally to repress the people of Afghanistan. And that only fosters this extremist petri dish, which is going to only grow like a cancer and threaten our nation going forward.
I want to get back to that, but right now I want to ask you to, regarding President Bush's remarks, what did you extract from his remarks, and why do you think he's sounding that alarm now?
I thought his speech was extraordinarily poignant, especially given where he was commemorating our fallen heroes, 40 Americans on that Flight 93, who took the fight to al-Qaeda. They were the ones who started our counterterrorism fight by storming the cockpit. And what stood out for me was their selfless act of heroism that the president eloquently described. And their commitment to democracy. They took a vote before they stormed the cockpit. There's nothing more democratic than that. They didn't ask each other who was a Democrat or a Republican. They were all Americans, all united that day. I think those are important lessons for us to carry on, considering the challenges we face today.
Now, this morning on CNN with Dana Bash, former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice says that although she believes we are still safer because of the capability to merge intelligence, Secretary Rice says she does have some concerns given the turn of events in Afghanistan. Let's take a listen.
We've lost the eyes and ears on the ground in Afghanistan that helped us to know where the terrorists were, that allowed us to run the kinds of operations that you sometimes have to run against terrorists. We've lost Bagram and other airfields that were able to allow us to run even drone operations out of them.
So, Dan, was it a mistake to fully withdraw American military from Afghanistan, and will we become increasingly vulnerable to foreign terror attacks? And if you think so, what kind of attacks, and where in the world would Americans become less safe?
Yeah, so I think we're less safe today. I'm very sorry to say that, but I think that's the hard truth. I used to feel like, you know, after the Taliban conquered Afghanistan, that it felt like September 10, 2001. But it's really worse than that, because the Taliban has captured a treasure trove of our weapons and increased their status after having defeated us after a successful 20-year insurgency. And it's given them control over the country, and it's allowing al-Qaeda and ISIS to homestead on the Taliban's territory. The new Afghan Taliban Minister of Interior is Sirajuddin Haqqani. He's a designated terrorist and leader of the Haqqani network, which has allowed al-Qaeda to have safe haven on their territory. So we know one lesson from 9/11, and that is that terrorists will plot and plan against us from ungoverned space. They will seek to attack us in the region and beyond. Secretary Rice is absolutely right. We don't have the ability without an embassy and without an intelligence footprint, not to mention military footprint on the ground in Afghanistan, to detect those threats like we used to and preempt them before they're visited on our shores. The challenge remains the same for our intelligence community. It's just grown significantly for us. And I am very, very concerned about our ability to find those targets and then strike them. And I just think that we've put ourselves at graver risk. We had 2,500 troops in country. We could have kept them, maybe increased maximum to 4,000 with a narrowly focused counterterrorism mission, not focused at all on nation building, with 6,000 NATO troops and 10, 15,000 contractors.
We have troops in other countries. We've got troops in Germany. We've got troops in Korea. We've got troops in Japan. I mean, so listen, before I go, Dan, I want to take a look in the mirror. You touched on it earlier. Does our country's current deep political divide itself present a danger to homeland security? And does it provide a path for domestic terrorism?
I think it's been a constant challenge throughout our history. We fought a civil war. We've been through assassinations of JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. That was, part of my generation. What we learned as we were growing up, and we had to deal with the Oklahoma City bombing and January 6th. I mean, there's been all kinds of challenges we've faced, but I think we can honor the memory of those we lost on 9/11, not only by continuing to take the fight to the terrorist enemies, but by remembering that what unites us is far greater than what divides us. And I would like to see our politicians, I say this as a citizen, Democrats and Republicans, kind of lay off the nasty partisan attacks and get to the business of solving our nation's problems. I'd like to see their energy focused on that a little bit more.
Because if we don't, what happens? Does domestic terror, is it given license to attack again?
Well, I think all of our politicians understand that they enjoy a bully pulpit, as President Theodore Roosevelt used to like to say, and words matter. And those who would seek to do us harm inside our own country, as President Bush noted, may derive inspiration from things that politicians say, even if politicians don't mean it to be taken that particular way. So they just have to be aware and wary of what they're saying, and understand too that by speaking about unifying our country, they can contribute to solving our nation's problems better.
We'll leave it there. Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman. Thank you, Dan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.